After I saved her company, working 80 hours a week for 2 years, my girlfriend paid me $50,000 and kicked me out for her ex. She replied, "It's just business." Then I joined their biggest rival, taking some of her main distributors. They were left frantically calling as their company's value slowly evaporated. I'm 32 male, and I'm writing this from a hotel room that smells faintly of lemon-scented despair. It's 2 in the morning. The witching hour for bad decisions and brutal honesty. And man, have I got a story that's been eating me alive. It all started with a woman. Of course, it did. Her name was Alara. When I met her, she was this whirlwind of ambition and chaos. She just inherited her father's company, Golden Harvest. It was a respectable artisanal food business, but it was completely stagnant. I saw the potential, and I saw her. For a while that was enough. For 2 straight years, I poured everything I had into that company. My background is in logistics and market strategy, exactly what Golden Harvest needed. I'm talking 80-hour weeks. I redesigned their entire distribution network from the ground up. I personally forged relationships with every new distributor. I was the silent partner, the engine in the backroom. We never had a formal contract. We had love, or so I thought. Our payment was whispered promises about our future, and whatever profit the company made, we just poured it right back in. And it worked. The company's valuation tripled. We were on the verge of a massive expansion. Then 2 weeks ago, I came home to our apartment. The apartment I paid the security deposit on, and it just felt off too clean, sterile. My favorite worn-out armchair, gone. In its place was this sleek black leather thing that just screamed, "I have more money than personality." Alara was in the kitchen, swirling a glass of wine. She didn't even look at me, and right then, I knew. "I need you to move out," she said. Her voice was as crisp as a new $100 bill. I think I just stared. My brain was still trying to switch from long day at work mode to what the hell is happening mode. Move out. What are you talking about? This is my home. It's my apartment, Liam. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were cold. Like I was a stranger. The lease is in my name, which was true. Technically, it was just easier that way when we moved and her credit was better. I paid my half of the rent to her every single month. A gentleman's agreement. Another one of those. And then the other shoe dropped. Some guy walks out of our bedroom. Tall, generically handsome, wearing a shirt that probably cost more than my car payment. It was Ronan. Her ex, the one she'd always called a charming parasite. Well, apparently he'd charm his way right back into her life. The next hour was just a blur of clipped sentences and soul-crushing facts. They were back together. He was moving in. This was happening. And I was surprisingly calm. The kind of calm you feel after the tornado has already hit and you're just standing in the wreckage. I asked her about the company. Our company. She slid a folder across the marble countertop. I've had my lawyer draw up a severance agreement. She said, "A thank you for your contributions." Inside was a check for $50,000. I actually laughed. A dry, empty sound, $50. It was a slap in the face. It was a rounding error on the value I'd added to her business, and I told her so. Her response is what will be seared into my brain forever. She just looked at me, took a slow sip of her wine and said, "It's just business, Liam. Just business." 2 years of my life, my love, my sweat, my ideas, all reduced to a transaction. Ronan, the parasite, had the balls to put a hand on my shoulder. "No hard feelings, mate." I just shrugged him off, packed a bag. But as I was walking out the door, Alara said one last thing. "Don't try to fight this, Liam. I have the best lawyers, and you signed a non-compete." And she was right. I had. A year ago, buried in a stack of paperwork, she'd called it a formality, something to protect the company if we ever got investors. Like an idiot in love, I signed without even thinking. So here I am in a soul-lampless hotel room with a check I refuse to cash, and a non-compete that's supposed to have me professionally neutered for the next 2 years. They think they've won. They think I'm just gonna roll over, but they forgot one thing. I built their distribution network. I know every strength, every weakness, every secret, and a non-compete has its limits. It can't stop me from talking to people. It can't stop me from being a better option. She said it's just business. Okay. Alara, let's do business. Update 1, it's been a month. The shock is gone. Now it's just cold, clear focus. That check is still on my desk. A constant reminder. A motivator. First thing I did, I got a lawyer. Not some slick corporate shark like Alara would hire. I found a grizzled old bastard named Marcus who lives for employment law. I told him everything. He chewed on his pen, looked at the non-compete, and said, "This is broad, too broad, maybe. But fighting it head on, you'll go broke. She has deeper pockets." "So what's the move?" I asked. He gave me this slow, wicked smile. "You don't compete," he said. "You cooperate with her biggest rival. Golden Harvest's main competitor is a company called Terravita. They're bigger, more established, but they've been losing ground to Golden Harvest's recent growth. They have the money, but they lack the agility. They lack the relationships. I knew a guy there, David. Met him at a few trade shows. I took him out for a beer. I didn't say a word about Alara or Golden Harvest. I just talked about the industry, new distribution models, untapped markets. I gave him a little taste of what I could do. 2 days later, Terravita's head of operations called me. We had a meeting. Then another. They made me an offer. My official title, Regional Accounts Liaison. It's deliberately vague. My job description is simple. Build relationships. And here's the beautiful, totally legal loophole. My non-compete says I can't work in product development, marketing, or sales strategy. It says nothing about being a glorified relationship builder, and it definitely doesn't stop me from having a friendly chat with distributors. I already know the day I signed with Terravita. I started making calls not to poach, not to badmouth anyone, just to catch up. "Hey, it's Liam." I'd say, "Yeah, I'm over at Terravita now. Just wanted to see how things are going on your end." And then I would just listen. I'd listen to them complain about Golden Harvest's new ordering system. A clunky mess Ronan had insisted on. I'd listen to them vent about late deliveries because, well, the guy who knew all the shortcuts was suddenly gone. Then and only then would I casually mention Terravita's new streamlined ordering portal or their perfect on-time delivery record. I didn't steal a single distributor. They started coming to me. First, a small independent chain out in the Midwest. They were bleeding money from Golden Harvest screw-ups. I got them a trial run with Terravita. A week later, they signed an exclusive contract, then a bigger one followed, and another. Last night, I got a call from a furious Alara. I let it go to voicemail. It was just a rambling mess of threats and accusations. She sounded panicked. Then Ronan, the parasite, sent a text. "You think you're clever? You're playing with fire. Alara will sue you into the ground." I sent him back a simple reply. "It's just business. They're right about one thing. I am playing with fire. This is a huge gamble, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm holding all the cards." Update 2. 3 months in. The trickle of distributors leaving Golden Harvest has become a flood. My new life is a blur of flights, meetings, bad coffee, but it's a good blur, a productive one. I've brought over 5 of Golden Harvest's key distributors. We're talking nearly 40% of their business, and my lawyer, Marcus, has checked every email, every contract. I haven't broken a single clause of that non-compete. Legally, I'm a ghost. Of course, the lawsuit arrived. Thick package, intimidating, full of empty threats, theft of trade secrets, breach of duty, nonsense designed to scare me, to bleed me dry. But here's the turn I didn't see coming. Terravita's legal department, a team of absolute killers in $1,000 suits, stepped in. They saw Alara's lawsuit for exactly what it was, a desperate, pathetic attempt to stifle competition. So they didn't just defend me. They countersued Golden Harvest for anti-competitive practices and frivolous litigation. They went on the attack. But Ronan doesn't play by the rules. He decided to get personal. I got a call from my sister last week. She was a mess. Ronan had called her, fed her some sob story about how I was a jealous ex trying to destroy Alara's life's work out of pure spite. He twisted everything. And then, and this is what made my blood run cold, he hinted that I had a history of instability. He was trying to poison the well, isolate me from my own family. It all came to a head last week. I was in my hometown for my nephew's birthday. We were at a park, a place with nothing but good memories. And who shows up, like a bad smell on a summer breeze? Alara and Ronan, a calculated ambush. We need to talk, Alara said. She looked tired. The strain was showing. I don't think we have anything to talk about, I said, keeping my voice level. My nephew was right there watching. You're destroying my company, she said, her voice trembling. Your company was doing just fine. I shot back until you replaced your most valuable asset with a parasite. I nodded at Ronan. He stepped forward, his face a mask of fake sincerity. Look, Liam. We can make this right. Alara's willing to offer you a more substantial severance. Just come back. Help us fix this. The audacity, it was breathtaking. They kicked me out of my home, tried to ruin me, and now they want to offer me a few more bucks to clean up their mess. I just looked at him. You want me to come back? After you threw me out of my own home? After you called my family and tried to ruin my reputation? It was a mistake, Alara whispered, and for half a second, I saw a flicker of the woman I used to love. Real regret. But then Ronan put his arm around her, smiled that smug smile. What she means is we're willing to be the bigger people here, and that's when I snapped, not loud, quiet, precise, devastating. You want to talk about being the bigger person? My voice was low. Okay. Let's talk about the Golden Harvest Foundation. The little charity you and your father set up. The one you've been funneling money through to dodge taxes. The one that has a consultant on its payroll who just happens to have the same name as your ex-boyfriend. The color drained from Alara's face. Ronan's smug mask just dissolved into pure panic. I'd found it by accident buried in some old financial records I helped digitize. I never thought I'd use it, but they pushed me too far. I haven't said a word to anyone. I continued my voice, a deadly whisper. But if you don't drop this ridiculous lawsuit, if you ever contact my family again, I will make sure the IRS and every major news outlet in the state gets a full copy of those records. I didn't wait for a reply. I just took my nephew's hand and walked away. The lawsuit was dropped the next day, but it wasn't a clean win. My sister, she's still wary. Ronan's poison worked just a little. That seed of doubt is there, and I'm left with the bitter taste of my own ruthlessness. I won, but I had to become someone I'm not entirely comfortable with to do it. The war isn't over, but the tide has turned and they know with absolute certainty. I am not a man to be trifled with. Final update. It's been almost a year since the day in the park. The silence from their end has been absolute. The frantic calls, the angry texts, all gone. Just a void. Golden Harvest is a ghost. After an anonymous tip to a financial journalist about their charity, the IRS opened a massive audit. The scandal, plus their crumbling distribution network, it was a death blow. They had to sell. The company was bought for pennies on the dollar by some huge corporation. The name Golden Harvest is now just another label on a package, its soul completely stripped away. From what I hear, Alara and Ronan are still together. They sold her father's legacy to pay off their lawyers and their tax penalties. I see them on social media sometimes through friends of friends. They're in Bali or Tulum or some other Instagram paradise flashing these hollow smiles. They're trying so hard to project this image of carefree bliss, but you can see the desperation in their eyes. The parasite's charm, it seems, only works when there's a host left to feed on. My life has moved on, but it's not some triumphant movie-ending victory. I'm doing great at Terravita. I got a big promotion, a real title, real responsibilities. I have a new apartment that's all mine. I'm dating again, cautiously, but there are nights like tonight where I sit here and wonder. I set out for justice, for a reckoning. But the path I took, it led through some dark places. I used information I swore I never would. I hurt someone I once loved, even if she hurt me first. That $50,000 check, I never cashed it. It's framed. It hangs on the wall in my home office. A reminder of the price of betrayal and the cost of revenge. Last week, I got an email from Alara. It was short, just a few lines. It said, "You were right about everything. I'm sorry." I haven't replied. I don't know if I ever will. Some part of me misses the woman I thought she was. The woman who wanted to build something special. The woman I loved, but that woman is gone. And in her place is a ghost, a cautionary tale. I won. I got my revenge. I'm successful. I'm respected. I'm free. But I'm also the guy who tore down a company. The guy who keeps a frame check on his wall like a trophy. And I have to live with the knowledge that sometimes the only way to win is to lose a part of yourself along the way. It's just business after all, and business, I've learned, can be a brutal, lonely affair.